Everybody feeling good from last night?
Yeah.
Anybody got any hangovers?
Not yet.
For those who have hangovers, this might be an impactful seminar. My name is Justin Noel, and this is Amie Ward, and we're going to go through a lovely little presentation here today called Financial and Physical Health Behind Low ABV and No ABV Cocktails. So, the first thing I want you guys to take away from this is, first and foremost, like, we're not teaching and demanding a certain thing. All we want to do is really give you guys the tools. Actually, we were having lunch or breakfast this morning, and we were kind of talking about how like 10, 15 years ago, none of this stuff existed. Like, you know, you have so many things being presented to us now that we wish we probably had at that time. We didn't know it was even available. Programs on sustainability, you know, obviously everything that's happening in the sexual discrimination element, like all these things are great now because we didn't have it then. I think this is a great thing that Repeal Day Education Week does, is help provide us in this industry with extra tools that we can take back to our markets, our bars, and try to implement. So that's what this is all about. It's really giving you guys some tools and some awareness and some ways that if you want to take this back to your community and implement it, we're giving you the resources. And hopefully you take some of it. If not, if anything, you get a cool little presentation and some tasty mocktails. So, but yeah, as I said, we're gonna play a little game before we get going. Anybody want to guess what has more calories? Negroni or a tablespoon of olive oil? Everybody put their hands up if they think it's Negroni. Olive oil has more calories than Negroni. Whiskey sour or 2 fried eggs?
How many fried eggs are there?
Traditional.
Well, we fry the eggs and olive oil.
Is there an egg in the sour?
Shut up, nerd. Sour.
Trick question.
Raise your hand if you think a whiskey sour has more calories than 2 fried eggs. Yeah, Santa. There's your whiskey sour. There's your
Nailed
All right, dry martini or 1 portion of fresh cod?
Cod.
God.
Hands up for cod. Dry martini, that's less. Gin and tonic or half an avocado?
More calories? Half an avocado.
Raise your hand for avocado.
Oh, it's that tonic.
Last but not least,
And you know,
Bloody Mary or 1 portion of boiled potatoes?
does the Bloody Mary come with shrimp?
No, this is not one that you get at like Red Rooster. It's definitely not one you get in Nashville. It's got like a half a thing on. What do we got? Hands up for Bloody Marys. Hands up for boiled potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Is it
So,
starch?
the reason we do this is that there's a conception that certain items are healthier than drinks, and then there's a perception that certain drinks are healthy in reality that they're not. And what this whole thing is that we're going to do today is a little bit of a technical element that I'm going to talk about from trends and how they're impacting the bar, and then the Amie over here is going to talk about these things and how they impact our body. So that's kind of the idea between today, is really kind of give you guys some context on how certain trends are impacting our long-term financial success in the bars, and as you as bartenders need to be aware of. Again, like anything, how you want to implement them into your market, your bar, that's up to you. But it's really good to know these things and understand how they develop. Here's Amie saying hello, what's up? And yeah, so what we're going to do is kind of just go through this really quickly. What is a trend? So obviously there's a definition right there, but when you guys hear the term trend, I'm sure a lot of you guys get interviewed. Some of you are writers in here. When you ask that question, what is the thing that you kind of, like, as a bartender automatically think of, like, trend-wise? Like, how do you define a definition of a trend? Obviously, it's right there, the definition, but.
Like
Or what? We're in a safe space, by the way. You guys-
a chain reaction.
What?
Chain reaction.
Chain reaction?
So starts one and then everybody kind of catches on and everybody starts doing it like hashtags.
Like when you guys hear trend, is it automatically you think trend or you think fad?
Yeah, I think a phase.
She said it.
Yeah,
The hashtags.
Yeah, like the hashtags, like, because that's like trending.
Exactly. So a trend traditionally is something that is developing and changing and pushing things forward, whereas a fad is traditionally defined as like a flash in the pan, something that happens in a small amount of time over a small amount of exposures without really changing anything. Right? So trends are very important for us in the bar industry because that's what's actually going to impact this community in terms of pushing it forward or dragging it back. So what we want to do is always make sure that we're paying attention to trends in order to develop and hopefully grow this industry in the right way. So how do we predict future trends within the drinks industry? This is a kind of series of 12 markers that in society people look at to understand what trends are happening and developing and how they impact all these different industries, right? So you've got health, you've got fashion, you've got environment, science, Pantone, politics. Does anybody know what Pantone is?
Color.
Color, perfect. We actually had this conversation.
You guys picked
So the first time I ever heard of Pantone, by the way, just because we're in a safe space and you guys know, I'm Italian, so automatically I think the dessert. When I heard Pantone was picking colors, I was probably 16, 17, and I was like, why the hell would a dessert company pick the color scheme for fashion industry and all this other stuff? So, yeah.
I just thought Pantone was a color, so.
So if you don't know what Pantone is, now you do. And it has a massive impact. Politics, travel, beauty, all these stuff. In fact, a good thing to know is that if you ever want to kind of see what's happening and where the world is going, anybody here, there's a lot of ladies in this room, anybody know anything about the beauty industry, healthcare industry, or physical health and wellness industry? If you want to see what's happening and where the world is moving, walk down any beauty aisle. See what the cosmetic industry is doing, because that is literally, they're 2 to 3 years ahead of the bar industry and beverage industry on understanding what things are happening in the world that they need to be aware of, that they can start utilizing that are more sustainable than what we do. So if you're, as a bartender, and you're trying to figure out, all right, how do I want to push things forward, what cool things can I implement to a cocktail menu, just walk down a cosmetic lane and start seeing what ingredients they're using to make certain beauty products.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
It makes, I'm counter to that. I think they give a shit, but I don't know.
That's something that they're not doing it for us, but they are light years ahead of us in terms of how they prep and advance technology and utilizing sustainable ingredients.
Right.
That word you said sustainable again, my first
what
thought was
ingredient?
why do they really
If you
care?
look
I'm
at
surprised to hear that.
in aesthetics, you will immediately see it reflected in cocktails.
Okay, cool. I'm just surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
Cool.
It didn't used to be the case many, many years ago, but honestly, the more sustainable they are, the longer the longevity of the business is.
Sure. And that's exactly what the point of my first part of this seminar is to be about. Is giving you guys understanding of how to forecast so that your bars can be sustainable and not from a waste side. The sustainability of the waste side is a different seminar. This is more about sustainable for the long-term financial success of your bar, so that you're not trapped in this notion of if I continue to do the same thing, I should get X, Y, and Z financial returns. The reality is that the world is changing, and like I said, a good mirror to look at to see where it's moving towards is to look at the beauty industry, because they're very much ahead of us. So in terms of drink trend analysis, one of the things that you'll kind of read about is that you'll see what happens in New York takes 5 years to get implemented in Indianapolis. Well, the reality is that what happens in our bar community takes 5 years to go from you guys, the bartender, to the grocery store, to actually having it be an everyday consumer engagement or consumption. 5 years.
What's your data?
Nielsen reports. They showcase, they literally will show what's happening in the bar. So we use gin in England as a test, right? Gin market over there wasn't massive in the consumer world. Bartenders really kind of pushed it. It actually helped London Essence, which is what we're a non-alcoholic mixer. Gin and tonics, the last 5 years have grown exponentially in the UK market, with compound gins being the highest grossing thing. Now you go into basically a grocery store or any type of off-premise account in England, first thing you'll see is bright colored pink gins, compound gins, packaged vats that have gin and tonics. You go to England, go to hang out with any of your friends at their house, first thing they're probably going to make you is a gin and tonic. So, and they've said from start to finish, think about the old fashioned. Think about when you guys were bartenders. First time you made an old fashioned, kind of how it kind of like ramped up in your bar. How long was that before your mom was asking you to make old fashions at the holiday party? If you think about it, it's probably somewhere in that 3 to 5 year range, right? So that's how long it takes from what we do in our bars, or to actually bleed out to the consumer to become something that they incorporate into their everyday lives.
Is White Claw an anomaly for this one? Or just
Well,
Bomb?
these things are.
That escalated quite quickly.
That has
Well, another thing, there's always outliers, right? That's the thing. Another one of those outliers would be Fireball.
Yes.
I don't think Fireball anybody saw coming, and then all of a sudden.
Here we are.
These trends get broken down into micro trends and macro trends. So like some micro trends that you guys might be seeing in the cocktail world is glassless cocktails. Has anybody started to see glassless cocktails?
You say glassless cocktails?
Glassless. Has anybody seen, there was an article that came out, like I want to say about 2 months ago, I think it was that Glenlivet just launched the pods. Yeah. Those are made with an algae, right? They're made with an edible algae. Why would you think that drinks companies are looking at glassless cocktails?
Tide Pods.
Why would they be interested in that?
Cheaper to ship.
Because Tide Pods are delicious.
You got a joke on you. And again, while this is a safe space, I am not a
Because it takes out all of the food and that, like the FDA regulations,
way
with
back.
labels.
There's a lot of different things. Like mostly, think about how much it costs to wash and clean all the time. What are some of the things that when you guys hear about waste seminars that they talk about? Minimizing waste, minimizing using water. So if the company can start going direct to consumer without you having to use glasses, or having to wash things, what does it mean for them? It's a bigger financial opportunity for them because now they can bypass, and then they can go to everybody and say, look at us, we're trying to be more sustainable.
I have a question. How do they serve that exactly? How do they serve you a pod?
So,
I'm asking like,
That's a great question.
because if the question is waste, if you're giving it to me on a plate, well, aren't you dirty?
well, I'm sure it is. I'm sure some of you have seen like, molecular gastronomy and molecular mixology and things like that, right? So they incorporate a lot of gels and algae to kind of like use as a serving vessel. So it's the same thing. They'll use like basically, it's basically an edible algae. Because algae are sustainable. They grow, based on the bacteria that's in the ocean.
Well, I think he's asking like, in the setting, do I just like whip it in your mouth or something?
So they sell them in. So like you think about you go to like a package store, right? You go to like your liquor store to buy some. They'll sell them like in a box.
Sleeve.
Yeah. So, and again, they'll develop a packaging that's more sexy than that.
Sure.
But it's just something to be aware of that you're seeing. Again, that's another reason why they're looking at that, because to ship anything in this country, you have to, it's all weighted and taxed by the weight, right? So you think about if I can set something that doesn't have to
But without it actually exploding.
well, that you're asking questions that I have to do, because I'm not on their intrinsics and logistics team. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, as a thing, we're starting to see companies be aware of that. And if they're being aware of it, there's a reason, right?
I was just way behind. I was going back to the white one.
How do they be serving Yeah, but you always, but there's always going to be outlets, right? There's always going to be.
But I mean, it's still, it doesn't fit the exact timeline, but it's still.
Right, but that's why I said, like, Fireball is another one, right? You always have these outliers of things that happen in that were a fad, and then it explodes into a trend.
Right, but I mean, it went through, did it go through, like you said, like it showed up.
No, that's what I said. That you will have outliers occasionally. An outlier you're gonna always have. Like you'll have the negative side of it as well. You'll see something. Like, I'm sure everybody in here said at some point in their life that Pisco or sherry is gonna be the next hot thing, and it's never gonna be that, right? Like, it's not, we, as much as we like to like those things, like that may never be a trend because
Right, it's
it's
restaurant
not.
the industry, but it
Right.
doesn't make it to the mainstream.
So you're always gonna have the extremes, right? With majority of stuff, when you do data collection, you cut in the middle and you figure out what is that. Like I said, a White Claw will be on this side, sherry in this country coming on that side, right? It's just inevitable you'll have two ends of the funnel. Another thing you're starting to see is more understanding of botany and implementing it into cocktail programs. So I'm sure some of you guys have gone to some amazing bars throughout the US and probably abroad, and I'm probably sure you started to see more plant-based elements being brought into the cocktails, more farmers having like living walls or growing their own produce or growing their own herbs. Yes, no? Why is that?
It cuts down the cost of buying them.
Is that
And there's the aspect of getting your guests involved with it so you can see where the product is coming from.
all these things are true, and all these things are also why, you know, you're seeing bars engage in this more. This is also because, you know, we like to talk about this element that we're being seasonal, forward-thinking industry. Well, what's more forward-thinking and more seasonal than having like a living organism that's growing in front of your customer that you can like clip right there, and that's fresh as can be, right? That's farmed to glass as fresh as can be. So you're starting to see that more and more. And then my favorite is the experimental magic. I'm sure you guys have started to see more cocktails that have changed color or using more of that, like I said, molecular mixology element into the cocktails. That's also the result of kind of like, which we'll touch in a second, really what millennials have kind of looked for in their consumer interaction is experiences, right? We're an experience-driven culture, especially the millennial consumer. So bartenders have become basically self-promoters, not that we never were, but now with Instagram, every bar's got an Instagram. Every cocktail now has to be Instagrammable, right? And you're starting to see more and more unique, crazy, off the top ways to present a cocktail because it's got to be trendy, right? That's the idea, hashtag trend. So these things are kind of micro trends. Macro trends is how did we get there? How did we get to these things? Well, I brought up Pantone. 2017, the color of the year was this greenery color. As I said before, you have all these indicators that you look at to see what a trend is. Well, from 2017, they started looking at what happened in the fashion and design industry. This color started to pop up everywhere in interior design and whatnot. So you started to go through, you went to West Elm, or you went to Sears, and you started to buy stuff. All of a sudden, this color was the big color. What did that mean through the drink industry?
There you go.
You look at Starbucks, 2018, the #1 selling drink at Starbucks was the matcha latte. And avocados all of a sudden became the must-have ingredients in almost every restaurant. So while you may not consciously have been thinking about this, subconsciously, things around us have started to impact the way we think and behave. I think we had questions there. Well, we're always going to legalize.
Somebody way back then.
Yeah, but it's subconscious, right? So yes. So what does this mean again for the bar industry? Well, how many people in here all of a sudden are like gluten-free? One person, right? How many people on a daily basis do you engage with that all of a sudden are gluten-free? Right, tremendous amount, right? So what's happened in this country in the last 5 years is decline in pasta sales across the U.S. and Europe.
Tito beverage.
With the decline in pasta sales, what we've seen is the increase in things like chickpeas. Again, what does that mean for the bar industry? All of a sudden you start seeing alcohol cocktails, right? So you guys start to see the trends and how they're impacting us, even though we may not understand where it came from and how it got there. So, how does this apply to our drinking culture? Well, here's a kind of synopsis between Europe and the U.S. In this country, we don't engage alcohol until we're well into our teenage years, whereas in Europe, it's very much a thing that they engage as a kid. By the time they're 16, they're actually in bars. By the time they're 21, they're actually drinking, whereas when we're 21, we're experiencing these things for the first time. And then here's kind of the result, right?
Did you draw that?
Yes. And why is this important, right? Well, drinking culture and eating culture is very important because it impacts how your bars are going to be successful in the years forward. This is what used to be the trend. What we're starting to see now is the European culture start to, grow roots here in the U.S. where things like the aperitivo hour have become very popular, right? What used to be called happy hour, which is a way for us to sell lots of drinks in a short amount of time and cheap, that businesses are changing into basically creating more sessionable experiences. Because at the end of the day, we are in the experience business. So something like an aperitivo hour is basically a way for you to create a better experience for your customers, providing better cocktails. And again, that's a result of what's happened in Europe for decades, right? It's slowly seeping into this country, and it's just kind of changing the drinking culture here. I don't know. What else is impacting our way of life? Well, I live in New York. Some of you may be from California. Other big cities probably have this as well. There's actually a bill in the U.S., in New York and in California, that is trying to require cocktail bars, any place that serves beer, wine, alcohol, to put the calorie intake or output on the menu of a cocktail, beer, wine. Now, why is that important? Well, 2018, all fast food, all chain restaurants were mandated to put calories on their menus. Right? Some of you guys probably work in restaurants that have that. The fact that you have states like California and New York putting bills through that are going to require cocktails to do the same, how long do you think that that's going to take before it goes into your markets? Exactly, right? Why is that important? Well, that means now that the consumers know they have more information. So now when they sit down and they see your cocktail menu, even with all those lovely ingredients that you have in that, the decision that's going to be made is whether they drink it based on calorie intake, right? So these are the things to be conscious of because, again, if some of you want to go and open bars, some of you as bartenders and bar managers have to show revenue to stay in business, right? We have to make money. I own 2 bars in New York. We constantly are looking at how do we make money. It's easy to look at different things and go, all right, we'll do this, and that'll generate maybe a short-term pop in revenue. But if you want to be sustainable long-term as a successful business, being aware of some of these trends and these micro-trends and how they impact the financial side of your business, it's very vital, right? So understanding that this might be something that comes into your bars, it's better to be aware of it now so that you can start working towards how do you want to implement these changes into your establishment. So again, these kind of cultural things are starting to come into our restaurants. Like how many people all of a sudden are starting to see lower cal diets, low carb diets, right? The keto, paleo, that's become a real big thing. Who here works in restaurants, by the way? How many of you guys have seen that kind of demand and shift from the consumers who now all of a sudden want more protein-based meals? That's fine. What are you guys seeing? Again, you can tell me no. I'm using data. I'm using Nielsen report data. So what happens in your market may not be different, but this is an open forum. So have you guys started to see some of that?
Yeah.
Right?
I work in a sushi place, so we get a lot of like bodybuilders and stuff coming in factories all the time because they like their lean proteins.
Right.
Sometimes when we order, we get looks. Like they don't understand what we're ordering. So I don't think they're seeing a lot of it, but they obviously see it because like we did, right? We go in, we're asking for a burger without a bun, right? We're asking for, there's several menus where we try to take the carbs out of it. And we don't understand what we're doing.
Right. But let's say you fast forward 2 years from now, right? I think those people probably will have a good understanding as to why that's happening. Why.
Oh, yeah.
And what
now
will
when we go in,
chefs will be making the changes. Because somebody who's looking at the financials, we need to make changes. These are what our consumers, because you guys, we all vote with our dollar, right? So if we're all of a sudden demanding change, the establishment will react, right? Low sugar. Anybody in here seen how low sugar has impacted their establishments? Or seen what low sugar is doing to the larger U.S. and steam margarita,
White Claw.
White Claw. There you go. So to answer your question, like White Claw is exactly the direct result of consumers wanting to be able to drink to get some level of intoxication, but do it in a way where it's less sugar.
Yeah, I think the two of them.
100%. And then the thing that is very abundantly clear because of social media is that in this day and age, we as a culture are all about experiences. We want and demand more unique, personalized experiences. And how is that impacting your establishments? Have you guys seen that? Like I said, I brought it up before. Almost every bar that I know now has multiple social media platforms. I don't know if you guys pay attention to a lot of social media, but I do, because I have to. Years ago, it'd be amazing to see a commercial or a video featuring a bar or a bartender doing something. Now you go on social media, you go on Instagram, and almost every bartender has a video or some type of like mock commercial where they're making a cocktail. London Essence, if you follow me on London Essence, you'll notice I post a lot of videos. Reason is, over in Europe, which is our home, all the bartenders over there who want to be in the top 50 have that video. So we do 3 series of videos with these guys, but it's creeping into the US. I don't know if you guys follow some of these well-known bartenders in the US. Everyone is doing some type of video, some type of almost quasi-commercial in order to engage with their consumers. And then if you look at their social media platforms, especially Instagram, cocktail photos are curated, all the drinks look Instagrammable for a reason. And all these things are a result of trying to engage and create a niche that makes them separate and different from another establishment, because we as a culture, as millennials, and again, some of us in here are not millennials, some of you guys are Gen Zers, but the Gen Z will have their element as well. But the reality is that the data shows we consume personalized engagement, unique opportunities, unique experiences. These things are going to impact your bar as well. So what does all this mean, right? So you see these trends, all this stuff, low carb diet, we just kind of talked about it. If you actually look at data, craft beer consumption in this country has done well. Gone down. Now there's different impacts. In some states where craft beer is really big, CBD and marijuana is legal. So there's been a trade-off from consuming beer. Those same people who would have consumed beer are now switching to CBD or marijuana.
There's also the spike in all the beers that are craft beer breweries that are making low carb, low ABV, or low calorie beers, like Sierra Nevada, a lot of them, like that whole list.
In fact, a lot of them are also now moving to zero alcohol as well. Brooklyn Brewery just released a zero proof beer. Heineken did a big campaign behind zero proof beer. There's a couple of breweries out in Atlanta that are doing zero proof beer now.
They all have.
Low sugar, what does that mean? How's that translated? Well, all of a sudden, we know for a fact the whole cocktail movement has shifted away from less sweet drinks. That's been the priority, right? Pushing that away.
Go bitters.
Anybody who works in the rum industry, I'm sorry, I love you guys to death, but the reality is that if you look at numbers from 10 years to now, rum consumption in this country, rum sales go down every year. Because again, the consumer doesn't really want to drink sweet. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't see little spurts of movement where you go to a place that's big into tiki, but if you look at the actual macro and the data, rum is going down. Sugar shots as well. Like think about back in the day when you make a shot at a bar. Traditionally, very sweet. You try to get it out and do a whole bunch, and everybody do shots of it. Now, like we were out last night. I don't remember anybody doing a mixed shot. It was all very much spirit poured, except for at the hub where it was half a bottle. Which, no idea how they stay in business, but they're an outlier as well. They're not following any trends, and they're definitely not following any health initiatives. What does the health conscious consumer mean? Well, you're starting to see the rise of sober curious consumers. And what does the rise of sober curious consumer mean? Well, again, I know that some of you don't live in New York, and some of you don't live in LA, and some of you don't live in San Francisco. But right now, we have bars in New York, LA, Miami, San Francisco that are non-alcoholic only bars. And that is a result of now there being a demand for people who want experiences, who want to engage with people, but don't want to drink alcohol.
Oh, the Papa bars.
Coffee shops are weird.
Well, the irony is that if you go to a lot of these non-alcoholic bars, they do quasi-feel like coffee shops. I do think that there's an element, much like non-alcoholic spirits, that it's like there but not there.
So I'm on the speeding thread in Orlando, and actually this conversation came up, and the consumers were asking how sustainable it is. So in New York, how sustainable is that business being a non-alcoholic bar?
So I'll show a video here in a second because I want you guys to understand two things. First and foremost is that this generation is broken up into kind of really two age brackets. You have what we call the old millennials and the young millennials. The old millennials, which, for better or worse, I'm kind of at the end of that. I'm 38, about to be 39. We are going to shift out of like being an impact on how consumerism is impacted. The younger ones, you guys kind of have a much more tangible connection with the next generation, which is Gen Z. And in the video, you'll see why that's important.
Wait, you're
because
saying 38 is an old one?
We're old millennials.
Really?
Yeah. Actually,
There's
38, 39,
I thought we
nowadays.
were like,
We have a weird nowadays.
Zennials.
you're Zennials.
Zennials, yeah.
There's
Sorry.
a whole.
But-
I identify as you.
But the way that they bring this up, the way that they bring it up is they look at a 20-year gap and they say, you guys fit on this side, but on this
It's
side.
just entirely too much happened in and out of time period, that's why it's hard. But
That term didn't come out until what, like?
Millennial?
Yeah.
It's been around for at least 10 years.
It just wasn't exposed.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, boomers, the new one in town.
Yeah, you just called me that.
But you know, this is a report that came out in 2018, and again, this is kind of the middle grouping of the millennials, 25 to 34. Wine increases, beer sales, liquor sales, brown spirit sales, all going down.
Also see that going back to how bartenders push it. I don't know where it is for other markets, but Florida, all our bartenders are geeking out over rum, like Foursquare, stuff like that. Do you think there's going to be an uptick in rum sales in about 5 years following the trends that goes?
No, because again, it's all going to be predicated on those macro and micro things that I kind of introduced to you guys at the beginning. Now, as we just said, right, White Claw is the impact of a short amount of like things where we said the macro trends are low carb, low sugar diets, right? That's why you see things like White Claw and Truly popping. So what would need to happen is consumer appetites have to change drastically for now. There need to be a desire to want to drink rum, right? So a lot of great articles out there about tiki bars
Yeah.
and kind of like where they exist, how they exist. But when you look at the percentage of tiki bars that are well-known, stay in business, and are quite successful in the entire U.S. North American market, you were to take all those and then put it into a number, you're talking about less than 0.01%, right?
So Florida's
Well,
an
hardest thing to do.
outlier. out of
You also,
the most of it.
sorry,
Yeah.
you also need to balance that with the depth of sales of like Malibu.
Oh,
Right.
touche.
So like Malibu and flavored rums that
Yeah.
were gigantic through the 90s and early 2000s, no one's buying that anymore, and that's
Right.
Yeah.
crushing rum sales. Well, like, yes,
But there's also been the launch in this past year of flavored rums from Bacardi and Dom
Well, wait.
doing their own.
we're still gonna see if it works.
That's
our
what-
industry, there's been the reputation of, you know, the funky rums.
Exactly. But all those things, at the end of the day, if you see the growth of them, they're not going to be significant. They're going to be very plateaued versus like how many on-premise accounts open every year, right? So in this country, every year, there's a significant uptick in the amount of on-premise accounts that open in the country. And you measure that across the amount of sales for that category, it's a massive gap,
Got it.
right? It's the reason why, again, 10 years ago, vodka made a shift, right? You're always starting to see it now with Kettle Botanicals and Absolute Juice and some of these other Smirnoff as well. All those flavored vodkas, heavy in sugar, artificial flavors, all came from like Jacksonville, right? On-premise accounts opening was here, flavored vodka sales were doing this, and there's a massive gap in between. They had to shift and make changes. You're starting to see those now because again, consumer appetites want less sweet, less artificial, less sugar. So now all you're going to see with flavored vodkas, and this will happen with rum too, is how do you incorporate more natural ingredients into those to create those flavors. Again, personal experience provides the experience. So this is the video. Let's see if it works. I'm not really supposed to tech savvy, so. There it goes.
Home ownership, golf, mayonnaise, and napkins. Millennials have been accused of killing a lot of things. Most recently, it seems the alcohol industry is in their crosshairs. But is this generation actually drinking less?
I had seen a lot of articles claiming that millennials were getting sober in notable numbers. When I started to dig into it, I found that it wasn't really true.
Millennials aren't actually drinking less, but it seems like they want to. Amanda posted a tweet to find out more.
Within an hour, I had over 100 emails, a bunch of DMs.
Well, come on, let us in on it. How do you feel about drinking?
I would say I am pretty sick of drinking, mainly because it makes me sick.
Well, it used to be a much bigger part of my life.
Drinking was expensive to me.
I think the turning point for me was when I had to somehow be an adult at work and be present and focused.
I'm sick of finding meaning in alcohol.
It seemed like something that people wanted to talk about and hadn't had an outlet to talk about yet. The idea is that it's not that people's habits are changing quite yet, but that people's attitudes are changing.
One reason millennials might view alcohol differently than previous generations is because their lives are so different.
The story of millennials is the story of a group of people trying to navigate a series of cultural obstacles that their parents and grandparents' generations did not. The friction over things like drinking is an indicator of that.
This is a generation that is less likely to have children or own a home than their parents were at the same age. They're redefining the idea of adulting.
For older generations, marriage and kids in the suburbs have been sort of a natural off-ramp from drinking habits of somebody's early 20s. But when you don't have marriage and kids and homeownership in the suburbs, there's no template for how to conduct a social life in your 30s without those things. So you just sort of default to what you're doing in your 20s, but for people in their 30s, it's a lot harder to drink that much.
Another reason to reevaluate alcohol? Money.
You mean a budget?
Millennials are likely to be the first group in modern history to end up worse off than their parents.
Alcohol is a potential victim of that. Alcohol is not cheap.
But for this generation, financial straits don't always equal poor taste.
Millennials have been exposed to a lot of nice things. So you've got this tension between what millennials like and what millennials can afford, and that is going to create some problems.
And in America's all or nothing drinking culture, moderation is rare.
And my dad said to drink down there never hurt anybody.
Drinking's just about the worst thing you can do.
Either you're sober or you're underage. What millennials
They crash the economy,
In Brooklyn, businesses are already capitalizing on this shifting tide. Booze-free bar, Getaway, opened earlier this year. With a menu full of mocktails, it could be a blueprint for businesses looking to accommodate teetotaling trends. Ultimately, if millennials are starting to change their attitudes toward alcohol, the change in habits could happen with Gen Z.
Gen Z is drinking less than any other generation has at their age. And Gen Z are in high school and college right now.
What's behind today's dip in teen and young adult drinking? Some researchers believe decades of public health campaigns have effectively conveyed the risks of heavy drinking.
I think that is your first indication of a real sea change if Americans can have a more reasonable relationship to alcohol that's good for everybody.
What do you think? What about drinking?
Hi everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our channel and check out more videos by more of my awesome coworkers.
Boo! If you don't want to fucking drink, don't drink.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Exactly.
Everybody has the ability to say something, right? But the point I wanted to show that video.
Do it. Why are you trying to change the entire thing that's been happening for us? Oh, you're talking about Christianity?
Hey now,
The reason I want to show that video. The reason I want to show this video is really because they touch upon some elements, right? First and foremost is that, as they say in there, the older millennials aren't the ones that are making the decision to stop drinking. What you're starting to see, though, is that the younger millennials and Gen Z is the new generation that's going to come in. And again, if you're trying to be, and again, all this stuff is just context information. How you disseminate it, how you, but
why
being
must
aware.
everyone change because this new generation is
Didn't say
excited?
that.
I don't think it's telling people to change, it's just that people, or certain people, have, like one generation, they generally have a pattern, right? The next generation starts to shift. It's not the people that have that pattern stay in that pattern. The people that are developing their own pattern develop different patterns. That's where the trend is.
So I want you to remember that you said this, right? Why do you want to change something, right? Think about this. Think about 20 years ago. I don't know when you started bartending, but I can remember when I started bartending.
40.
Well, I started at 18. I started at 18, so it's 20 years ago. The first time I made a cocktail that was part of this whole evolution of like the cocktail resurgence, the customer across from me said the same thing. Why are you making my old fashioned that way?
Right.
When for the last 20 years I've been drinking it with muddled strawberry or muddled orange and cherries, right? The thing about that, right? That's the point, right? You and I, we're on the end of some of the impacting that what you'll see going forward, the trends that are happening. But we have to be understanding that these trends are going to happen, whether or not you and I want them.
Right, like as a business owner, embrace it.
What is that?
And
So
make
that's
it,
why
but in the same hand, I feel like they're very preachy about it. Like,
Well,
no,
again,
we must be
we're-
this way. And I'm
we're-
like, no, we're all still having a great time over here. So
Well, I'm
we
saying,
all do this together.
we're
We
not.
call it- No, yeah.
She and I are not. No, and then again, I wanted to show that video really to kind of show you guys really what the younger generation is. We're already starting to see some data from them and how that means they're going to be consumers. And consumers, like, look, it doesn't matter what field you're in. If you sell anything, whether it's alcohol, whether it's paper, whether it's lingerie, all these things are going to be impacted by consumer tastes, right? So understanding what consumer tastes are is how a company, any large company stays in business, right? So if you're a bar owner, right? I own 2 bars. I want to stay in business beyond the extent of my lease. And I want to be one of those places that's around for X amount of years. Well, for me to be successful, I have to be cognizant of this stuff and understanding how it impacts the beverage program we put out.
So the numbers on the Gen Z drinking habits, where they self-reported?
I mean, it's like anything. So what Nielsen will do, will send out, questionnaires and things like that. They'll do like sampling in different markets, and basically you get that data. They apply it to larger collection of data, and that's how they get it. So I wasn't there because I don't work for Nielsen. No.
So I heard a lot into that video, but the saving money part, if it's a no ABV bar, it's seedless expensive.
What is that?
Yeah, so how are they saving money on that part?
Well, so good question, because that segues into, after you've seen this video, and I've kind of talked about these macro trends and micro trends, what next, right? Why did I talk about that stuff to begin with? Well, here you go. What next then, right? Consumer habits and social shiftings are occurring, right? Be aware. That's all I'm saying. Like if you live with your head buried in the sand, you don't know what's happening and nothing changes, right? Think about our current political situation, right? Some of you, I'm sure, are super progressive. I'm sure some of you probably been on the other side of the aisle. The reality is that if you don't try to impact change, you're doing nothing but doing one. You're standing still. And what happens? Time moves which way? Forward. And if you're standing still, you're doing what? You're going to get passed by, right? So be aware, right? It's time to adapt and embrace change, right? I had the same conversation with people 6 years ago about sustainability in the bar community. Bartenders were like, why are we going to do this? How do we do this? Why should we be doing this? Now, you're starting to see the reasonings behind why they're doing it, and you're starting to go to bars and you're starting to see that change. How many people would have said 5 years ago that you thought McDonald's and Starbucks were going to get away with plastic straws? Where do you think that came from? Why do you think San Francisco Airport is the first airport to do away with single-use plastic bottles? We, the consumer, have an impact. And we as bartenders, we're actually very, very vital to that change that happened at McDonald's and Starbucks. If you guys think about who was the first ones to really promote the no plastic straws, who was it? Bartenders, right? So we have an impact on and how consumerism changed and how society changed, right? So these are the things that I want you guys to be aware of. And whether or not you implement it, that's up to you. And again, to your point, some of this stuff is expensive, but let's also remember, change happens slowly, right? And you as a bar owner, in order to be successful, much like the waste movement that happened behind the bar, it's always acceptable, it's always going to be successful if you implement it at the rate that you can implement it, right? You think about it, if you try to build something off once, what ultimately is going to happen? Anybody live in New Orleans? What just happened? Hotel
Fall down.
fell down, right? Just to try to build a hotel cheaply, quickly, and what happened? Fell. You have to lay a foundation down first, right? And then build up from a secure foundation. And if you've done it the proper way, hopefully it takes hold, right? Do you have questions?
Oh, no. We just know ours is this was behind here too.
Acceptance. Let's remember we are in the experience business, right? Hospitality is an extension of experience business, right? To be respectful of one's religious, social, religious health reasons for embracing maybe a low ABV life or a teetotal life, right? Who in here runs bars or own bars? If you had a customer come up to you and say, I don't drink alcohol, but I'm willing to stay in your establishment and put money in your register if you provide me with something that I can enjoy and experience, what would you say?
Give me your mental quarter.
Great. How many of you are bartenders in here? How many of you have done this when somebody came up and said, I don't drink, can you make me a latte? And you went,
Or a better question, how many people are actually telling you that they don't drink? Most of them are not because they are still stigmatized by not drinking.
But then there's always it's kind of the same as like, oh, I'll have, a gin and tonic, beer, and soda. And then when you go to charge them for soda, they're like, what the fuck? And you're like, well, I mean, you go into the grocery store and expect that I can just take soda.
I'm not assuming that the pricing, and to your point, I get what you're saying. What I'm trying to get at is, as bartenders, have we ever initiated the conversation of like, oh, you don't drink, let me create something for you? I think at some point in all of our lives we said, fuck, are you serious? I gotta make that. Because we don't look at it as having the same intrinsic value as a cocktail, right? We look at it like you're diminishing what I do by making me make some fruity concoction, right? But the reality is, as a bar owner, and you're a bar owner, right? No. But you run a place, right? Here is somebody who literally says, I have money. That's what anybody who walks into your establishment is doing. They're saying, I have money. I have the ability to vote with my money. I've chosen you. What are you going to give me as my experience? And if the experience is poor, what do you think is going to happen? Yes. But that's what I'm saying. Let's be accepting. Let's be tolerant. Let's make these consumers feel valued. In the past, as Amie just said, most people feel stigmatized because mocktails, low ABV, no ABV cocktails have always been an afterthought. Think about you guys as bartenders, right?
Can somebody tell us what we've been drinking? Because I'm just drinking them. I don't know what's in them.
Are these cocktails?
I don't know what's in them. I'm on the third one. I don't know.
Hope you're not
Oh, no, they're low proof. They're no proof.
They're all no proof. And Tim lace all of them with acid, so you have a different experience in about an hour and a half.
Hey guys, so I can go over those really quick for you. So the first one that you had was a cold brew. It's called CB&T, which is cold brew and tonic. It has cold brew, some cinnamon essence, and the classic London tonic in there, London essence. The second one was the breakfast ale, and that one had the delicate ginger ale for the London essence that we were featuring, and that also had a strong brewed bourbon flavored black tea in there, along with some lemon juice and honey to kind of balance it out, so kind of like a take on a hot toddy almost, I would say. And then the FOC 75 is what you're receiving right now, or FOC 75. And that's going to have the grapefruit and rosemary tonic from London Essence, along with juniper syrup and some lemon juice that we did for you.
Thank you.
Yes, Roger.
I gotta, you said something, made me start thinking about challenging the bartender, like, all right, we'll make me something mocktail. Like, oh fuck, really, I gotta make something. I think maybe it might really do with our egos and putting you on stage to challenge you is when we make you a cocktail, right? We got all these fun tools to play with behind the bar. But now you take alcohol out, we're down to like 10% of what we have behind the bar. So now you're really challenging the bartender. So by new products like these could help us out with that.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of my discussion as well too, is people need to treat their low to no alcohol cocktails the same way they do with regular cocktails. There's no reason why it should be a fruit and sugar bomb in a glass. That's not what I want. I personally had my first experience of not drinking was within the last 2 months. I took 6 weeks off drinking because I was training for boxing. And I'd never deliberately done that before. And everywhere I went into had shit for offerings, or it was just sugar, or I just had lots of the Kronbacher 0% beer. Like, because I was really unimpressed by what no ABV options were available. It really has to be that we reapproach the way that we make drinks. So you're a goddamn bartender, so act like it. Use the things that are around you. Use teas. Use your different sodas. If Seedlip's too expensive, then try to make something else that you can use a replacement. I still love that stuff, but I fully understand. Like, maybe things will change now that they're by a parent company.
Use your chef. Use your chef. Use your chef. Use your chef.
The last sentence on this slide
Use
kind
all
of,
of your leftovers.
the last sentence on this slide is really kind of like what I was trying to sum up on this slide, which is that embrace low ABV and no ABV as either the business decision maker or as head bartender, the same way you do about creating signature cocktails. Because to your point, you have to generate excitement, right? As you as a bar owner or bartender, you kind of work within the culture that you have, right? So if you create a culture in your establishment that's like, we're going to embrace these things. I mean, first and foremost, I love working with low ABV products because I think from a flavor profile, they're more dynamic. They're much more unique than like me going through the differences between what a Maker's Mark and 10 different other bourbons do. You and I might geek out, but once I put it in front of a consumer, they're not, no one's ever been like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Alcoholic brands coming out.
Right, there are some amazing non-alcoholic brands, but even on the low ABV sector, they're full of flavor, and if they're highlighted properly, it tastes amazing, right? Instead of just using it as an afterthought, because I think a lot of what happens is these things get, all right, I'll throw a little bit in here just to appease the brand that I'm working with that comes in and spends money. Well, if you actually look at, taste those things and figure out ways to amplify them, you create these lovely cocktails, right? But you guys as the leaders in your establishments and your markets, you guys embrace it, and people start to see, oh shit, like, these guys love this stuff. I'm gonna start doing that, right? I mean, young bartenders learn from us regardless, right? That's just innate. They look towards people who are doing it, and they say, what are they doing, how can I mimic it, right? And this is something that we can start to implement into your bar program. Again, it's up to you, you don't have to. I'm just saying you do it and embrace it the same way you do boozy cocktails. We'll start to see a shift. What's the opportunity? Well, from a bar perspective, aside from Seedlip, because really Seedlip is the only big one right now, there's some ones out there that price-wise are actually pretty on point. The COGS on low ABV and zero proof cocktails is drastically cheaper, and this is 100% true in most markets, than creating a cocktail. First of all, most because spirits cost money, whereas making a syrup or some type of like shrub, while it does cost money, isn't as expensive as 100%.
Well, fermentation, I use a lot of fermentation in my programs, and that's, I don't know if it's everywhere else right now, but it's popping up around my market hugely. Like, Tabache is one of my go-tos for pretty much everybody when they're doing stuff like that. So I use that a lot, but is there more, like, I've had questions from, how would you describe Seedlip? How is it distilled, but no ABV?
Well, again, so I don't work for Seedlip, right? So
I don't know, it's just a question
so when I
I
say
get a lot from
it's a hydrosol, so it's a hydrosol. So it's basically they macerate botanicals in water and essentially then they distill the water to extract the flavor, right? Hydrosols are great because they're super aromatic. Perfume industry uses a lot of hydrosols. The problem with hydrosols though is that when you start to add a lot of things like acids and other compounded products, it will inevitably cover up the hydrosol, right? So it does get kind of lost. I don't work with Seedlip. I'm sure somebody from Seedlip would have a better
I'm just
definition.
curious about
I mean,
how
we do a
they-
lot in essence, we do a lot of work with Seedlip.
Yeah.
They're great, fantastic people. But there's other companies coming out that you start to see in this country that are similar products that are no proof spirits, and from a cost standpoint, they'll be in that low 20 area, which will be much more affordable for bar. But you know, if you look at like the cost of like a high-end tequila that some of you probably use in your cocktails versus like what like select aperitivo would cost, it's a different price. It's substantially cheaper to use that. Now, all markets are different, certain prices. If you're in a controlled state market, things cost more. Like this isn't applicable. You know, Kettle One is not the same price in every market in this country, right? So some markets going to be super cheap, certain markets going to be expensive. But overall, the cost of goods to make a low ABV cocktail, no ABV cocktail, is lower, right? And if made well and properly balanced and presented in a premium way, well then you can do what? Charge, right? So to your point, yeah, $4 for a soda, that's expensive, right, in my opinion. But if the cocktail was one of these cocktails, you could easily go away and charge like $8, $9, $10. Do you think your customer would bat an eyelash? No.
I've watched them bat eyelashes.
Okay. But I think generally, if given a better presented premium product in front of them and they see the price, how many times have you guys seen, again, difference between a dive bar and a cocktail bar, massive difference, right? But if you go to a premium place, like, you know, a really good restaurant, the price of the cocktail, you very rarely go, oh, really? That's how much it costs?
I think you're thinking that what you're selling is no longer just a drink. Like when you get a soda, you think you're just buying a drink or a soda. But when you get like a mix, somebody makes something for you, you're getting a presentation, you're getting, so you're willing to pay more. Some are willing to pay more.
I'm seeing a lot more mocktails, like mocktails on menu, 3 and 4 different mocktails on the menu. So yeah, I mean, definitely there.
Because people are seeing the opportunity. And look, at the end of the day, from a financial obligation as a bar owner or a management team, you have to show profitability, right? So profit-wise, you can make more money on low ABV and mocktail cocktails. Now, obviously, they have to sell, right? That's the thing. So if you create quality, well-presented, premium-looking drinks, you should be able to charge. And it shows that millennials and Gen Zers are willing to pay more for personalized premium experiences. That's 100% proven true. Think about why we have all these apps that are experience-based apps. And think about when people go out. They're always more willing to buy something if the experience is good. If the experience is shit, we rant about it, right? But millennials and Gen Zers will spend more money on something that they think is geared towards them, more premium, and much more presented in the way that they want. So.
It's all about explaining it. You know, like we started our mocktail program with like maybe 2 drinks, and that was just for people who were randomly coming in and get it, and then we started pushing it towards people who were having like too much to drink, or people who were just like, you know, out just being social. And we moved ours up to 10 now, and we're the only bar in town that has a mocktail program, and nobody really understands like why it works. It's just all about the way you present it. North Carolina.
I think another, at the bar, I'm not bartender, at the bartender, I think, I should say, at the time, some of them won't tip on it, so, right, they don't tip on water, like we have a mocktail. Did that mean?
Yeah. So, again, brands out there called Seedlip, Liar, Sears, London Essence, that are giving bars premium products, better products that they can use and now make these premium drinks so that you can now charge a premium for it. More sessionable drinks, options, and better experiences keep customers in establishment longer, producing more boozier cocktails. This is 100% true as well. They did several tests where they brought people in and they timed them on the rate of intoxication versus sessionability versus money spent in establishments. And they ran this test hundreds of times. Majority of the time, it showed that people will spend more money if you give them much longer time in your establishment with sessionable drinks. So think about how we as bartenders have kind of like handled interacting with not only fellow bartenders, but our consumers, right? If you start them off with a shot or a boozy cocktail, how long do you think they're going to stay in your establishment? Not talking about bartenders, Bartenders are different. But again, think about your bartender friends who come in, that's how they start. How long do you think it is before they have to go home?
3 drinks later.
This is like stuff to be cognizant of, right? Because we start off, the bartender handshake has traditionally been a shot, right? But now you started this person off with a 40 proof, whatever you drink, spirit. They usually have a beer. Most of us are big fans of boozy cocktails, right? So now you're drinking that. Within a short hour, you've now consumed twice the level that's supposed to be consumed, right? So if you do that over a long period of time, you're amazing. So physical, as she's going to tell you, that's a lot of physical damage in your body. But if you can create sessionable drinks, the consumer will stay in your account. They'll engage with you longer. They spend more money. So it's better for the business to do what? Keep the customer in there longer.
So with that, are you charging typically less for the low ABV drinks than your boozy drinks?
That's based upon your own cost of goods, like what percentage line you have to run at for your bulk. That is for you to determine and judge. You don't want to take the value away of what you're presenting because you are still crafting something special. So I would not undersell yourself in any way, shape, or form. But it needs to be something that makes sense for your bar, your cocktail, your everything.
We do like maybe $2 less on ours. And how much sets the presentation, everything they want to do. And when people come into your bar, they already expect a price point to pay. Like, we're an expensive bar, so people come in and know that they're going to spend money, so we don't demean that.
I think more along the line as someone maybe on like a budget, being frugal, they want to go out, have a good time, get that buzz. They're going to have to spend X amount of dollars over the course of a handful of low ABV drinks or X amount of dollars over the course of like less boozy drinks. Just kind of that mental math is just...
Right. Well, it's the same thing that applies to like brands, right? You work for a tequila company, right? You and I both know that people who drink your product are not the same people who go into a dive bar and go, can I just get a shot of tequila? Right? That is a different consumer who then drinks premium spirits. So when you look at who is the consumer, like I said earlier, there's two ends of the line, right? You have the frugal, non-drinking people, and then you're going to have the cheap, I need to get drunk people. But in between, it's most people consuming alcohol and food on a normal basis, right? Those people ultimately are the ones that pay our bills. The people on the side, think about a dive bar. The price point is set to generate volume and keep people in for a short amount of time until the next people come in, right? It's not sustainable to charge $2 for a Bud Light. Like, that's not profitable for an establishment, right? But anybody been to New York? You go to a bar, how much is a beer? Exactly. Right. And the reality is that New York, last I checked, I lived there, I never have anybody bitching about the price. It is the price. So, and we're not lack of people. We have the highest amount of population in this country. So it's, again, it's a simple supply and demand equation at that point. But the reality is that for us as an industry to be cognizant going forward, right, if we rethink the bartender's handshake and other guest engagements as a math problem, applying somebody with high proof alcohol right out of the gate means that their time in your venue is limited, which means that their consumption of goods is going to be what? Limited, which means that the check average is going to be what? Limited. Which means the bartender tip is going to be limited. All right, so you guys see how this all impacts you financially? This is kind of what we wanted to talk about. So top tips, right? Again, I know we've kind of gone into some different avenues of conversation. I applaud Amie because she's like sitting there waiting to go. There's some tips I just want you guys to take away from this stuff. Is just consider the ABV in your cocktails in your beverage program, right? For every high proof cocktail you have on the menu, think about the other consumer who's probably not going to drink that, right? Balance, right? Life is all about balance. Your cocktail menu, your beverage program should be well balanced, meaning you should have your boozy stuff, but then also start catering and being aware of those people who don't drink or want more ABV things, create more sessionability in your establishment so you keep your customers on, right? Think about fruit and juice content, right? This to your point, the COGS. Well, in waste, if you're trying to be sustainable, you can start making things like cordials, right? And think about how cordials can be implemented into a low ABV or no ABV cocktail program. people see that, they think, ooh, that's cool. They see fresh lime juice, they're like, okay, lime juice. Cost of goods, though, it costs more to constantly squeeze fresh lime than it is to take lime rinds, citric acid, and turn it into cordials, right? So, highballs sit under 100 calories. Just so you guys know, that math is based off of a 1 ounce pour of alcohol with any type of mixer, whether that's, now I say this, premium mixer. That's Fever Tree, Q, London Essence. Schweppes, Coca-Cola products start off at about 120 calories, 90 calories. That doesn't apply here. But traditionally, a premium highball of a 1 ounce pour plus a mixer is 100 calories or less. So for some of you in markets like Miami, New York, where you have these consumers who are all about health and wellness, this is really good to know. Because now you can create highball programs, sell it as a cool thing that you have in your bars, but the reality is that you're giving these people what they want, which is low calorie cocktails as well. And consider your sweeteners, right? Amie and I were talking out front, like something that I want to do at some point. It's kind of like sort of breaking down on the technical element what these calories are in these sweeteners, right? So you as bartenders can go, all right, an ounce of simple syrup is this, an ounce of honey syrup is this, an ounce of agave syrup is this. Understanding that as well will help you create cocktails that are also lower in calories and healthier as well. So, now that you understand why low ABV and no ABV are great for the financial health and success of your bar, now let's understand how it impacts you guys, and your guests from the health perspective. You've been waiting patiently.
So before I go into this, another thing for how to actually price out your cocktails, something I did in my last bar program was make sure that I had 5 cocktails on there that were awesome the way that they were designed, but also amazing without the spirit in them. So if you build your cocktail first as a non-alcoholic one and then find the right spirit to complement it, or pick 3 spirits that are priced appropriately that complement it well, you can sell that cocktail, no ABV cocktail for arbitrary number $9, and then you can add a $5 charge for your added spirit. So that's a good way to go about it. That way it's uniform across the bar, but people see the value in both of them that are going on. So now I get to talk about all the technical stuff that's going to make you feel weird. It's not weird, maybe you can be fine. I'm weird, but that's okay. But so I always put on agreements about this because we're going to be talking about alcohol consumption, especially as it pertains to bartenders. So I want to make sure that you know that anything we say in here is confidential and should be judgment-free. Judge anything that I say, but do not judge what other people say. So whatever we talk about in here stays in here, unless it's something that myself or Justin has said, and then we can kind of go around that. I put destigmatize on there because we are talking about drinking, and I want to talk about mindful drinking in this particular part of the presentation. Sobriety is not for everybody, but sobriety and mindful drinking and whatever type of drinking that you do should be kind of approached the same way. We cannot demonize anybody for whatever particular choices that they're making, and I want to make sure that we're continuing to rethink the way that we talk about that. Challenge yourself, step outside your boundaries when we're talking about these things. Self-care, if anything I say brings up anything for you that you need to care for yourself, but by all means do whatever you need to do to get to that. Okay. The reason why we talk about this particular part for drinking amongst bartenders is because we are in a very difficult industry. We are in a mentally laborious, emotionally tough industry where we need to be on at all times. We are tasked with mental burdens, physical burdens, sleep deprivation, excess and addiction, which is just what our industry is, and mental health issues that are compounded with all the drinking and all the access that we have, plus lack of resources, lack of health insurance, things that get in our way to be able to help ourselves. Biggest risks that we face on a regular basis, and mentally burdensome, always are, emotionally laborious. Secondary trauma is a result of you doing your job just as a bartender, listening and talking to your guests, where I'm sure you hear some really, probably not always okay things from your guests. They will unload on you as if you are their therapist. And what you experience as a result of that is secondary trauma. You take on the trauma of the other people in the way that they've spoken to you. And then what do we do with that? Even mental health professionals have other mental health professionals that they get to go see after they have seen their week's worth of clients. right? They have somebody that helps them get through what they've heard, what they've experienced, what they've been working on, and we don't have that. Essentially, we do that to just the next bartender that we go sit in front of, and we cause the chain reaction of trauma, right? So it's great being a bartender. And there's a constant risk of harassment and abuse. There's a lot more people speaking up and out these days, which is good, so I feel like we are starting to tackle a lot of that, but we are by no means close to closing all the gaps on harassment and abuse in the workplace. It is incredibly physically demanding to be a bartender. What you are doing just by nature is detrimental to your body. Your body's not necessarily designed to shake and turn and spin and whatever when you're behind the bar. And we have no ergonomically designed bars, except for the few that are out there, and they are incredibly expensive to have. Does anybody have a cockpit in their bar? Yes? That's amazing. That's one of the things that's nice, and you can actually do mise en place and stay within your little area and do everything wonderfully, but it's incredibly expensive to have that. And how often do you think that a bar is designed by a bartender? Absolutely almost never, right? So everything from just not having the right heights of everything to being pitched forward at all times to just putting our bodies completely out of whack. It's just what we do. And you're constantly at risk for different musculoskeletal disorders, foot injuries, lower back injuries, upper extremity injuries, carpal tunnel, just because of repetitive motion and what you do, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, rotator cuff problems. Like, the list is very expansive, but today is not the day to talk about all the physical things in that capacity. There's also a huge risk for sleep deprivation. Our sleep schedules are completely fucked in this industry. We are on shift work. We work long hours. We work late nights. As a result of that, our circadian rhythms and our biological clocks get really messed up. Our circadian rhythms, which kind of help dictate the other systems that happen in our body, are completely run by light. So when you are up and you are working in the middle of the night, your body thinks that it should be shutting down. But it cannot, because that's when you work, right? So that's when our body. So circadian rhythms and biological clocks are completely messed up by the fact of what you do, and unless you're a person who is very diligent about setting the schedule for yourself, in the ways of if you were an 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. bartender and you're not going to bed at 6 a.m. on the dot every day and waking up at 2 p.m. every single day, your body's going to be completely thrown out of whack. And more often than not, I would say, who has an actual consistent schedule at work? I just saw 3 hands. 4 out of the entire group, right? So that's more common than not that you don't have a consistent schedule. So it's really hard to make that consistent sleep schedule for yourself to at least give your body that much freedom in that sense. All of the lack of sleep and the weird schedules directly impact our mental health. And then mental health is completely thrown out of whack because we are in a hedonistic society that is hospitality, right? We are a hedonistic, pleasure-filled industry. We give people a good time. That is our job. We also have access to excess in every capacity. Every single thing you could possibly want to drink, and there's always drugs as well. They are in front of us, and it's not hard to get. And it becomes really easy to get into that cycle. A 2015 study by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration shows that our industry has the highest rates of substance abuse disorders and third highest rates of heavy alcohol use of all employment. It's funny that it's not highest for alcohol. That is lawyers. Yeah, lawyers drink not shit. What's that? And then the next statistic on that just says just how many jobs happen, how many injuries happen overall in job. And they're not always a result of drug or alcohol use, but there's a high number of them that are related to that as well. So here's the boring stuff, but have you ever actually considered what happens to your body when you intake alcohol? I know we all know that it's not necessarily the greatest thing for us, but why? Here are the boring things I get to tell you. Broken down by system, in terms of your heart, alcohol will raise your blood pressure and put you at a higher risk for stroke and heart arrhythmia, and it also increases your heart rate. There are some studies that say it with moderate drinking, you can lower the risk of heart disease, and that is like the 1 glass of wine per day. That's the not 1 glass, 6-ounce glass of like 100 proof whiskey per day necessarily, but it is things such as wine, which has a higher antioxidant count, that can help you out with that. What happens to our livers? We always know that our liver is probably the biggest thing that's impacted by alcohol. It's because that's what metabolizes the alcohol. That's what determines basically your blood alcohol content, and how quickly that can drop is by how fast your liver will metabolize it. During booze breakdown, there are toxic byproducts that are released into your body and damage cells and tissues. And with an excessive amount of alcohol, those toxins can start to cause cirrhosis and fatty liver. And alcohol, in terms of the liver, will also impact glycogen synthesis, which is one of the ways in which we are able to create energy source. In terms of the skeletal system, there's a great decrease in mineral absorption, which results in a loss in bone density when you have continued alcohol consumption, which also increases your risk for osteoporosis as a result. With the skeletal system being impacted, that then negatively impacts your ability for muscles to grow. There's also some studies that say you can potentially increase your bone density with moderate drinking. Again, this is your like glass of wine, but there's still lots of studies out there that will contradict that at the same time. In terms of your brain, alcohol is a depressant. We all know that. It decreases our motor functions. We have a decrease in reaction time as a result of that, and a decrease in work performance as a result of coordination loss. So if you are someone who is able to drink on your job, if your bar allows you to have a shifty or anything like that, you'll notice that you probably don't get better towards the end of the night as you've been drinking and working. You're going to slow down. You're going to drop things. You're going to break last. That's where it start to get in the way of that.
Think about the people who, at the end of the night, when you have to clean, we talked about that earlier. How long does it take to clean the bar all of a sudden now? Because 2 or 3 of your bartenders are intoxicated.
Many times sitting there waiting, like, I've been ready to go for 2 hours now. If you could just get your shit together and close your well, that would be super. Right? And the worst thing about it is, not the worst thing. I think it's absolutely terrible that you were unable to create memories as a result of your alcohol consumption. I don't believe I've used alcohol, but I've drank plenty over the last couple of years because I enjoy alcohol, and I can't remember shit. I just have a crap memory, and that really is impacted further because I like to enjoy a cocktail once a week, right? So that's really unfortunate. In terms of, when I was talking about having taken 6 weeks off for drinking, I was bitching because I did it for boxing, and I was like, why am I not dropping weight? Why am I not like, it's like I'm not getting all the good impact of not drinking. I was being such a little selfish asshole by saying that, because I'm like, why? I'm like not dropping weight, not getting any stronger for boxing. It's, the biggest thing for me was my gut was so happy and I didn't realize it. Drinking destroys your bellies. Your belly does not like booze in any way, shape, or form. It totally impacts your ability to absorb any of the nutrients that you take into your body. So if you're already deficient in any particular kind of nutrient, it makes it even worse from that. Decreases all the healthy bacteria in your gut. So you basically have to drink like kombucha with every single drink that you have, or maybe just start making more kombucha cocktails. I'll leave it with this video. But there's tooth decay, diarrhea, internal bleeding, and then the massive thing, dehydration, which everybody experiences on a regular basis with that. But dehydration is big. Dehydration causes fatigue, poor performance. Dehydration is what makes you so hungry. Dehydration is what makes you want to eat McDonald's the day after a night of drinking. You don't want McDonald's, nor are you hungry for that. But your body is so parched that it's telling you that I need more calories and need to make me feel better. And that's where that comes from. Dehydration causes a decrease in ATP production, which is again your energy stores, and an increase in fluid loss. So basically the circle of life for dehydration. You get cramps, muscle pulls, strains, and there's a higher risk of energy when you're from dehydration. Metabolism kind of plays into that dehydration part where you get much more hungry when you drink. That in the long term can lead to a higher risk for obesity. And there's just, all studies say that a high fat diet and plus alcohol causes people to consume more calories than a low fat, high fiber diet. And then lastly, for the endocrine system, so booze stimulates cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And cortisol inhibits growth hormone production by at least 72%. So if you're someone who actively is in the gym or is trying to grow muscle and you drink, it's going to prevent that from happening because there's so much cortisol running through your body, completely stunts your muscle's ability to grow. So now that I've scared everybody with what can happen to your body, the biggest thing I wanted to talk about was an alternative to drinking all the time. And it's called mindful drinking. So what is mindfulness? It's self-awareness, emotional balance, social awareness, and relationship management. Mindful drinking is something that I'm hearing a lot of, that a lot of people are moving towards because sobriety isn't necessarily for everybody. And if sobriety is for you and you're able to do it, then that's fucking beautiful and you should keep doing that. The other alternative is attempting mindful drinking. Becoming more intentional with the way that you experience your drinks when you go out. Taking time to smell, taste, and fully experience and appreciate your spirit, your cocktail, your wine, whatever it might be. I like to think of mindful drinking as Marie Kondo, but for booze. Does this bring you joy? Does drinking bring you joy? Yes, cool. Try to find a really good way to keep going. If it doesn't bring you joy, fucking stop doing it. Or find a way to eliminate it or alter it, like curb it a little bit. When we're approaching mindful drinking, it's thinking about evaluating your relationship with alcohol and drinking. Has anybody ever taken the time to do that? Yeah? Yes. Why am I drinking? Am I stressed out? Am I bored? Am I anxious? And you're evaluating it the same way that you evaluate other things in your life. What's the financial impact of me having a drink or going out to continue drinking every day of this week? What's the mental impact? How do I feel while I'm drinking? How do I feel after I'm drinking? Maybe that's a better way to look at it. What's the emotional impact? How am I feeling personally? How are my relationships with other people? Am I more emotive when I am drinking? Am I less emotive when I'm drinking? What is happening to my emotional state? Physical impact. We talked about, looked at the physiological response to it beforehand. How do I feel when I'm drinking and when I'm not drinking? Or after I'm done drinking? If you feel like crap, maybe you should do something about that. Right? And then what's the impact on your daily habits? Does it make you wake up later? Does it make you miss meetings? Are you messing up at work as a result of it? Things to take into consideration. Drinking is oftentimes a reaction to external environmental factors. Would you say that's true? How many people drink because they're stressed out? How many people drink because they're super happy? How many people drink because they're really bored? Right? So it's all a result of something else. Did you actually want that drink, or are you trying to replace it with another feeling that's happening at that point in time? We think about the positive impact of mindful drinking, about really evaluating what you're doing before you go out and drinking and really experiencing the beverage that you're about to consume. Practicing mindfulness is great for the peripheral nervous system, which is your rest and digest system. If you are more mindful in the way that you approach your drinking, your brain becomes more calm, your muscles start to relax, your heart rate and your blood pressure start to decrease, get on a normal level, your pupils will shrink, your breathing will slow and deepen, so you have a little bit more concentrated reps, and it promotes digestion and immune activities, so making you feel better altogether. Has anybody actually tried mindful drinking in any way?
Well, days like today, it's really bad. But at home, it's more clear-headed. Like, I can't have a day feeling like this. I work too much. I have too much shit going on. So I just wait for things like this. And
Absolutely.
Question. I similarly do a lot of the same thing where at home I rebalance and I reset, and then on the road I enjoy and find myself kind of back and forth. Do you like 2 or 3 days when you get back into the work cycle and you don't have the booze in your body? Do you have a weird social kind of like fallout? Like not like people, but just the feel of your body? Like are things kind of, do you have that kind of shock that happens?
It's kind of like a wind down if you're asking, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a longer one. It's not like a hangover. Like it's 2 or 3 days until you realize you reset and you feel
More
like,
of the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because like with not drinking, I don't really frequent too many bars. If we do anything like USPG or something like that, I'll go out. But as far as like anything with bar alcohol, home and home, we just work.
Just so you guys know, like, so I don't know in here who's the brand ambassador or not a brand ambassador, but you guys have brand ambassador friends who travel quite a bit. I travel every week. It's something that we do. So we tend to drink in the markets we have to go to when we come home, we reset. Any successful ambassador or person who works for a brand, not just somebody who like you see in your local market who represents a brand because that gets traffic around those people. But I'm talking about people who actually have to travel and have big ramifications on the brand's impact. They do this. When we get home, we don't drink. We have to reset our bodies and our clocks. Sometimes we only have 48 hours before landing and going off to a different place. So we take that time, we have to. And like I said, looking at your friends who do this and you talk to them, guarantee almost everyone who's a successful person that a lot of you guys probably look at as like pillars of our community, everyone would do this.
Absolutely. So if you're thinking about like how you could actually approach mindful drinking, you've taken some different routes, like what yours is just traveling as well?
I mean, somewhat. Like
Somewhat.
at home, I'm much better. It's night and day.
Okay. There's the thing that I like to try to encourage is the 80-20 rule. So 80%, 20%. Try to spend 80% of your time doing good things for your body, eating as clean as you possibly can, trying to make it no alcohol consumption. And then the other 20% can be, think of it like a cheat day. Or it can be the time in which you drink, the time in which you do eat out at a nice restaurant. And the 80-20 can work with your own schedule. You can do 80-20 each day, so you can spend 80% of your day doing really good shit for yourself, and then 20% of the day can be your cheat. You can do it by the week, where you spend front load on the beginning of the week and eat as well as you can, and don't go out and don't drink, and that way when there is an event on the weekend or there's a party, then you can have that time to socialize, enjoy a cocktail. And I'm not saying when you do drink, this is not your time to go and like go crazy. No binge drinking. I'm just saying that's the time in which you reserve for your body to intake alcohol. Or as a brand ambassador, you can do 80% of the month is keeping it easy for yourself, and 20% a month where you're going to be in market, that's when you're doing your drink. Your drink, your treat yourself, whatever it might be. That's a good way to approach it. Try for 80-20. If that's too much, try for 70-30, and then see if you can gradually get yourself to 80-20. And the most diligent way you can go about it is 90-10 if you want. But I think 80-20 is a good way, good middle ground for everybody to live in. Other ways to do it, exercise before you go out at night. That way your digestive system actually dictates what you're going to want to consume afterwards. Everything is working on high alert after you're done exercising, which is why it can kind of just drive the rest of the night for you. And the other thing is defy convention. You don't have to drink heavy as a bartender. We live in a world that it is the gram life. It is, everybody's social capital is so goddamn important in this industry, and it makes me want to vomit, quite frankly. I'm terrible at social media, and I'd rather just have this experience with you being right here, right now. But I understand that if I want for my business to grow, I actually have to post stuff on social media too. It sucks. It's a fucking deathly circle. But stop worrying so much about people seeing you all the time, and try to really make the experiences and interactions that you have more meaningful. Not a good time, perfectly good time to bring this up right now. We lost a very good person this week, right? Everybody's not unfamiliar with the fact that we lost a wonderful human being who was bigger than life in every way, shape, or form, and lived his life in excess. Excess in love, excess in food, and excess in drinking. That man died way too fucking early, way too fucking young. I was asked years ago to try to talk to him and see if I could help him out. He didn't want want to. He was completely content living as big as he possibly could and enjoying every part of his life. And that is one way to do life. But what is the result is that we lose somebody so fucking young and so fucking bright, and it hurts everyone around us, right? And everybody wants to order the whole menu in his honor. Like, come on, we're just creating that cycle all over again, you know? We have to, everybody needs to grieve and everybody needs to do and process the way that they want to right now, but we have to think about our actions. We have to think about what we're doing to ourselves. And I'm here just to be the fucking Debbie Downer right now, but we love what we do and we love the people that are in here. You gotta love yourself as much as you love this industry and the people that are around you. That's my big takeaway.
And unfortunately, this last 2 years we've lost many,
Entirely
many,
too many people.
and if you think about the people we lost, they all big personalities, big life livers who lived on high RPMs. And again, I have no problem being down here. Like, the reality is that we want to give you guys information so that you can make the changes, whether or not that's up to you. But there are consequences, obviously. And you know, it is sad that we keep losing amazingly talented, bigger, larger than life personalities. And if you look at some of the things that they did, their lifestyles needed to change at some point.
And you're very fortunate to work with two people who have changed their lives dramatically and are pretty outspoken about it. And I think if you ever want other people to talk to, if you want to talk to a health coach, if you want to talk to an OABB specialist, you can always do that, but I know Nectali is always willing to talk to people. So is Giuseppe, too. Promoting other big things like you can change your lifestyle. You can change the way you approach your day-to-day habits. Like, we don't have to do shots behind the bar. You can do shots of water. Dave had ting time at his bar. Dave had shots of ting instead. You can make a no ABV bottled cocktail for the day so everybody can have shots and enjoy it with their guests if they want to do that. Increase the number of low to no ABV cocktails on your menu so it's normalized. Having it on the menu means it will be ordered. If you don't have it on there, people are less likely to tell you, hey, I'm not drinking right now, maybe something. I have had plenty of people tell me that they're not drinking before I put those things on my menu, but they said it in a low voice. They didn't want people to hear it because people are still stigmatized for not drinking and being sober, and that's fucking stupid. We need to embrace, we need to make it loud, we need to make it very normal that these things are on our menus. So it becomes a day-to-day habit. Never question somebody when they're not drinking, and set the example for your team. If you're a bar mom or bar dad, start it from the top down. Like, try not to, is doing shots behind the bar really going to be that much of a bonding experience for your team? If so, then try to make it non-alcoholic or low ABV at the very least. And beforehand, I said try to make your cocktails taste good. Make your no spirit cocktail taste really good. Have the option to add it in there, add the spirit in there if they want to. Other ways to be mindful that doesn't have to just go with drinking, but can help you get in the same process is make time for yourself. Be selfish, take over any kind of space, time, place where you need to just be by yourself for yourself. Journal. I am going to try to get into this because I am a super high anxiety person and I don't know where my thoughts go sometimes. Unfortunately, they go to my partner who has to listen to all of that. I feel real bad. So I'm going to try to start journaling and get all my sporadic little notes out there. Be present in the moment. That's the most important thing about being mindful is being physically and mentally engaged at the same time wherever you are. There's so often that we are in these kind of situations where it's very high excitement because we haven't seen people in a long time, and people will be talking to you at all angles, and you might be looking for either the next person that you want to talk to or way out, whatever it might be. You gotta kind of reel that back in. Be present right here, right now, so you can have more genuine interactions with people. Meditation and yoga. Matt, are you still heavy yoga?
Sure.
So yoga is really where yoga and meditation is where a lot of mindfulness drives out of, but it can be applicable to other parts of your life if yoga is not for you, if meditation is not for you. Meditation is really hard, I get it. There's Insight Timer, which will help start you with little meditation spurts if you want to do it, and you can do it as short as 5 minutes. And it really just helps you learn to be present with yourself, calm down, breathe, and be like just engaged with you and only you at that time.
Headspace.
Headspace is awesome too. And breathing, practicing breathing. Even just like being by yourself and breathing in through your nose for a 5 count, holding it for a couple seconds, and then releasing for that 5 count. Just a couple cycles of that helps you get present with your body and what's happening with the breathing. You can feel your lungs filling up, you can feel your heart start to slow down. It really helps you engage in your physical processes. Do this at the end of the night, do it when you're in bed, because the worst thing that can happen is you just fall asleep better. And the other really big thing about mindfulness is accepting your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future. That's still part of trying to be present in the moment, but all of the things that might be swirling around in your brain at that time, accept them. Let them happen. It's cool. When you journal, that's a good way to get it out too. And then just let it be. Don't judge yourself for whatever you have just written, whether good, bad, or indifferent. And the last part, and I was kind of saying that with being present in the moment, be an active listener. When you are actually engaging with other people, listen to what they're saying. Don't just like smile and look in the other direction. Like, be an active listener. Don't hear them, listen to them. Hear and listen. Do all the things. Active listening, engage back with them, let them know that you're paying attention to them. That's majority. That's it. That's a lot. Too much.
Any questions?
Go in there for the kill.
Like you mentioned, like the impacts, and is that wild? Some of them are more long-term, like they persist after you stop drinking. Some of them are generally while you're drinking. So it's a little, that was where some of them I'm trying to figure out, like, is that something that's more is it more permanent or is it more?
So immediate things that are happening when you're drinking, heart rate and blood pressure are going up regardless. Your liver is processing the alcohol, metabolizing the alcohol regardless, in the present moment and long term. It actually stops being able to process as well. The liver stops being able to metabolize as well if you are an excessive drinker. That's because that's generally leading to fatty liver or cirrhosis, and then your body can't produce or remove the toxins as easily. Bone density things, that's going to be over time. The muscle growth, so there is a hormone that's released when you start working out, and if you drink even within 8 hours of working out, it inhibits that muscle growth, the muscle hormone from being released, and you continue to grow muscle. But yeah, muscle growth inhibition, heart rate, blood pressure, liver, those are all immediate, always happening whenever you're drinking.
The memory part.
Memory part is whenever you're drinking.
Just in time.
Yeah, the memory part can be long-term effects. So even if you stop drinking, if you've done enough damage, just like your liver, even if you stop, it can impact you down.
Yep. So brownouts, blackouts, those are immediates. Those are the days of, but long-term.
Yeah.
A question regarding the effects alcohol has on your stomach, etc. Are there vitamins that you recommend taking to kind of either counter or even out, like a probiotic, B12, fish oil, etc.?
I mean, you can, but the thing, so that's another immediate is it's impacting your gut. You are less able to absorb nutrients when you drink. So it's, yeah, you can balance, but it's going to take less of an effect because you already have the alcohol in your system. But long term, if you want to take like milk thistle, those can be things that can help your gut a little bit. Probiotics are always good just to, in general, have every single day. Do a shot of apple cider vinegar in the morning. Do your brag shots, but it's kind of a toss-up because if you're trying to do it in that present moment, it's not going to do anything because those nutrients are not going to really have it on tape.
But if you're doing the 80-20 method, and say you do it over the course of the week, during those times when you're practicing mindfulness, like I take liver oil, I take the milk thistle, I know I need to clean the body because I know that that's my time. Because I know if I have to, when I'm drinking, as she said, it doesn't matter. It's like taking vitamins and not drinking water. Your body's just going to push it out and it does nothing for you. So, any other questions?
When you talk about like heavy drinking, right? There's different patterns, right? Some people drink heavy during a short period. Some people drink heavy all the time. Some people drink moderate most of the time. Some people drink moderate, small amount. I mean, when does it become? How do you define? How do you recognize getting into your food game?
As a person who is not like an addiction counselor, I don't know if I can actually make a full determination on that. I think when you start to, the moment that you feel embarrassed about a time in which you drank is a good indication that you should start reevaluating what you're doing. If you can't remember something in the morning, that's a really good sign that you need to reevaluate the way in which you're approaching drinking.
If you're losing work, you're losing work, you're losing
Those,
personal
those
connections.
are, like, sometimes there's definite markers like those, right? And it's just, like, one thing I found interesting doing the photography thing, and this, I've noticed this before, and it has caused me to scale back, like, there are certain points in the night where I'm like, I feel good, I don't need it anymore, right? And I didn't, you know, like, and also because I don't want to feel good more, I don't want to, you know, wake up and hang out or whatever. But I've gone through some nights where taking pictures, and I realized, like, I didn't see somebody last night, and there's a picture in the car. It's like, whoa, I don't remember, I didn't feel like I blacked out. I didn't lose like so much motor control that I was stumbling around and everything. I just, blacking out isn't really that difficult to do.
Right. And everybody's body reacts differently, right? So that's the hard determination. As you said, we're not health like counselors or people on that end. So you have to be cognizant of what your body does, because it's going to be different than hers, than his, than hers, and all that stuff. So once you start finding out there's limits, it's like anything, right? When we're kids, we test boundaries. Put our hands on the stove and find out it's fucking hot. Never do that again, right? You start finding out in your 20s, you know, at least in this country, because like I said before, our drinking culture is such that basically it's taboo until you're old enough, and then when you're old enough, we hit it like a fucking ton of bricks, and then our bodies have a short amount of time to adapt, and then all of a sudden we start figuring out what our limits are. Once you individually start finding out your limits, that's on you now to start going, all right, this is the trigger point. This is the product. Some people have different reactions to different food, because again, certain things have living organisms, but still from different botanicals, all that stuff's going to impact your internal system. So you individually have to find out where those trigger points are, where your limits are, and understand.
Yeah, so I mean, just the mindfulness of being a little bit more self-aware of what's going on your day-to-day activities, that's a good way to start.
One of the issues I found is I didn't know what normalcy was. Like, so say you socially drink 5, 6, 7 days a week, and then we have our one day of catch up, you know, whatever, however we recover, just so that we can do it well the next week. And you go through years of that, and all of a sudden you get really sick, you know, and you're out for 5 days, and all of a sudden you wake up and the sun's beautiful, and you're not sensitive to light, and you're like, you function normally. Everything seems so much more clear, and then I jump right back in. I say, this feels amazing. I'm going to keep this going for a bit. And you jump right back in, but I don't think we really see the difference between us normally day to day as we live, and then what's actually our body telling us what's normal. That's the biggest issue I had, is that not understanding where that scale is.
And in this industry, because of things like she said earlier, like we kind of, to some extent, we praise that ability to kind of go from, you know, to bounce back as quickly as we think we can. But again, like the whole reason we wanted to bring up these topics was consumers have this information, and consumers are more aware of their ability to take time off. Now think about that. Like they take time off. That's essentially like saying, I'm going to shut my bar down for 3 days. Are you doing any revenue when your bar's closed? Right? So again, all these things are ripple effects of information, and consumers have this information because they're being fed this information by media, news organizations, you know, everything. We have access to information now that we didn't have in the past. So if the consumers are understanding this, it's impacting us, because we're not the only industry talking about this, right? Like you think people aren't talking like this is a bartender only conversation? No. This is everybody's conversation, and they're more cognizant because they have more 9-to-5 jobs, so they have to be up earlier, so they're less likely to try to bounce back. And I know most of you guys, your bars aren't 100% subsidized by the bartenders, right? You have to have customers coming in. So again, the whole reason we talk about this stuff is to not only understand the physical elements that impact you, so you understand where those points are and those trigger points and how long you need to recover as bartenders, but then what does that impact on the financial sustainability to have a successful bar business?
And I'll say the last possible thing, so if you don't really, like, if you're just starting out, you don't know what your levels of normalcy really are, wake up each day, regardless of what time it is, and take a physical and mental inventory of what's going on. How does your brain feel? How does your body feel? Does it feel great? Does it feel meh? Does it feel like absolute crap? Figure out what the answer is, and then go backwards. Why do I feel this way? Was I out drinking all night? Am I You need to be mindful, be self-aware, take an inventory of your body, and kind of backtrack to see what's leading up to that. It's really just a matter of people not be listening to their body's own social cues, physical cues. But if anybody wants to talk about this more, I know we're like totally over.
Yeah.
By all means, I have my cards, or if you want to email me or talk to me for anything, happy to.
Yeah, I mean, associated from the financial side, it's kind of really more my expertise. I'm not the health professional like Amie is, but first and foremost, thank Amie for coming down. Thank you guys for letting us tuck your ear off this morning. I know at like 10 o'clock in the morning, it's not the best thing to be talking about, and obviously, that's my trigger word. We know that this is not a subject that I think in this industry we're really talking about on a larger scale. We still have some work to do on that, and unfortunately, it takes moments of crisis for us to make some changes. I hate that that's the reality, but I'm hoping that if there's good that comes from anything that's bad in our industry, is that we can push our industry forward so that there's more of us to stick around for longer. So thank you guys for making the time, coming out and doing this. I really appreciate it from an Essence perspective. Again, thanks Amie. Thanks Ingrid and Montana and everybody from the